Coming up on today's Locked On Senators, the Sens begin a busy month where they'll see 15 games. Tonight, it starts in Columbus against the Blue Jackets.
And the Sens will have some reinforcements for this battle as Thomas Chabot returns to the lineup.
We spent a lot of time talking about where Chabot should play, but where will he? We have that answer, plus it's a revenge game for Joonas Korpisalo. That's all coming up on today's edition of the Locked On Senators podcast. It's your team every day.
Your Locked On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
I'm Jake Sanderson, and you're listening to Locked On Senators podcast.
I'm Tim Stützle, and you're listening to the Locked On Senators podcast.
Welcome inside episode 929 of the Locked On Senators podcast. I'm Ross Levitan on the outskirts of enemy territory in Winnipeg, Manitoba, alongside Brandon Piller up in the Blue Mountains. You can follow the show on social media. We're at Send Central on Twitter, LockedOn.Senators on Instagram. The show is free and available on all podcast platforms, including on YouTube, where a like, comment, and subscription go a long way to helping the show grow. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started today. Terms and conditions do apply. Today is Friday, December 1st, and Pilsy, the Senators are actually going to be a hockey team this month and beyond.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to be playing a lot of games. November in the rearview mirror. Get out of here. We're looking forward to December. You got 2 games, December 1st and 2nd. One of them tonight up against a Columbus Blue Jackets team that is the only team that's been hanging out with the Sens at the bottom of the conference for this long. So if there ever was a game and a time to get back on track against an opponent, it's tonight up against the Columbus Blue Jackets.
We haven't done this in a while, but it needs to be said. This is a must-win game. If anyone is going to take the Ottawa Senators seriously, you have to win this game in Columbus against the Blue Jackets. The Senators' schedule, I know Europe is not their home, but they've only played one game where they're wearing their away jerseys, where they're on the road, per se, in North America. Since when? It's been almost a month.
All of November, they only played one road game in Toronto, which was a win.
So this is their first game outside of Ontario in North America since October?
Yes.
Since October, Pilsy.
Correct.
That is absolutely asinine. And the last time would have been, October 28th, they were in Pittsburgh. October 26th, they were on Long Island. And before that, they were at home for 5 in a row. So this schedule has been as strange as it can possibly be. But this is the beginning of what is going to be back-to-back months with 15 games. So they play 30 games in the next 61 days. It's every other night, or in this instance, every night, back-to-back for the Ottawa Senators. Joonas Korpisalo, we know, will start in goal. That leaves a good chance that we see Anton Forsberg in Ottawa on Saturday against the Seattle Kraken. What are you hoping to see from him against his former team?
Look, I'm hoping this kind of fires up Joonas Korpisalo. We saw a bit of emotion from him in the last game where he was not too happy with the defenseman not coming to get the puck quick enough. But look, you let in 5 goals up against the Panthers. You lose 5-0. Like, that was tough. So now he's going back to his old home in Columbus up against his old team. We saw a big boost in morale and confidence when Anton Forsberg was given that start in Sweden. Hopefully you can kind of rekindle some of that magic and some of that emotional passion that can help Joonas Korpisalo have a great game up against Columbus tonight.
There's just no other way to put it, right? This is a must-win game. I didn't get your take on that.
No, it's Ross, begrudgingly and with some shame and embarrassment, I will co-sign with you that this is a must-win game. If you would have told me at the start of the week we'd be circling a December 1st road game up against the Columbus Blue Jackets as a must-win, I would have been very disappointed, but I probably would have had the foresight to be like, well, this is going to be part of the skid of returning home from Sweden. And they got to stop that skid right here. Because like you said, Ross, if this is a game they're not able to win, who are you able to beat? The Sharks? Maybe?
Maybe. The Columbus Blue Jackets had a November like the Sens have had in the last couple of years. They went 4-9-2 in the month of November with a huge losing streak right in the middle. Of late, though, they have won 3 of their last 5 games, albeit one was against Chicago, and although another one was against Boston. So you can't necessarily count them out of that in terms of what they've been doing of late. They've got a +5 goal differential in the last 5 games as well. So a team that is feeling themselves a little bit, at least comparatively to the slump that they were in at the middle of the month. I just don't think that there's any excuse to lose this game. And I think that has to be the thought process going into it. The postcast tonight after it, if it's a loss, make sure you remind us in the comments. There are no excuses. There's no reason to lose this game. I feel like Timmy always plays well in Columbus. He had that highlight reel goal there 2 years ago, I believe. And their best players their best players need to be their best players tonight. And if they are, this should be a 4-1, 4-2 win.
Yeah, that's the thing, Ross. Like, this is not only a must-win game, but it's a must-win convincingly game. Like, this game cannot be going to overtime or shootout. And selfishly, I want to see that puck line hit. Let's get some green numbers in the FanDuel account here, because I don't know, Sens fans probably like me have not had success betting on this team. So this is a night to get the account back up here.
Yeah, people often ask me, why do you care so much about the Ottawa Senators? Well, I tie a responsible financial burden to whether they win or lose. So yeah, that's one of the reasons why. Now, there were changes at practice yesterday. Let's do this backwards this time. Let's start in the back end, because we already covered the starting goalie, Joonas Korpisalo, revenge game against the only other team he's played a full season with, because obviously he got traded at the deadline, has not played back in Columbus, hasn't even played against Columbus, but now he's going to have the opportunity to go back, see his old stomping grounds, see the arena. I mean, it wasn't a cup of coffee. Over 210 games played for the Columbus Blue Jackets over his 8 seasons there since being selected in the 3rd round back in the 2012 entry draft. So now he's 12 games into his 5-year contract with the Ottawa Senators. So a good way to start. You know what they always say, right? Like when you leave a team, you got to talk dirty about them. You got to be like, yeah, those guys suck. Like, I'm with you now, right? So this is opportunity to go show it on the ice that he's looking to start this new chapter and close the old one emphatically with a big performance. But the back end is where a lot of the story is today, Pilsy, because Thomas Chabot is back. It's his first game in over a month, and it's great to see because this D-corps has been aching without him. Here is how DJ Smith decided to line everything up. Jacob Chychrun will play the left side with Jake Sanderson on the right. Thomas Chabot will play the left side with Artem Zub on his right, and the third pair, Eric Brandstrom with Travis Hamonic. Do you want to cover Chabot first, or should we nitpick the fact that JBD does not deserve to come out of the lineup before Travis Hamonic?
Yeah, let's start with that fact. I mean, I was really hoping JBD would stay in this lineup. I was hoping that JBD would get a chance to play with Thomas Chabot. I thought that would be a nice yin and yang pair. Now, I've got a positive and a negative about this. Positive, thank goodness Thomas Chabot is not on the right side. I mean, that, like, especially coming back, like if DJ would have put him back on the right side, I don't know what I would have done. That would have been just... I would have liked to hear an explanation for why that happened. So that didn't happen. That's okay. But Ross, for a team that has been struggling and a team that's defensive structure has been downright terrible recently, I would love to hear an explanation why you would break up their top defensive pair and arguably the most consistent duo, whether you're talking goaltending or forwards or anything, of this entire team has been Jake Sanderson and Artem Zub. Like, splitting them up, that is a weird decision in my mind. And then, sorry, I'm going on a rant here, but having Thomas Chabot play on the left side doesn't bring me much solace when they're moving their best defenseman, Jake Sanderson, on his right, and he's going to be playing with Chychrun. And what was the issue with Chabot and Chychrun? Both left shot defensemen, and they had no structure to their game. When they're on their ice, they're crisscrossing, they're weaving, they're going all over the place. I'm worried that exact same thing is going to happen with Sanderson and Chychrun here. And now you just have a dysfunctional pair like Chabot and Chychrun were with Sanderson and Zub, while also breaking up your only consistent pair of Sanderson and Zub. Like, it's just, I don't know. I know DJ, like, all he can do is use these players and toss them in the blender and see what lineup smoothie he gets and hope it tastes good. But I don't think these are the proper decisions to be making on defense.
Small sample size alert, but Chychrun and Sanderson have played 16 minutes together over the course of 12 different games. Okay. And they've got 70% of the expected goals while they're on the ice. So in terms of expected goals, it's the best pair that the Senators have iced this year. But again, they played 16 minutes. So I'm excited to see. They're probably going to play 16 minutes together tonight, and we'll see what the numbers run after that.
Definitely. But Ross, I would like to know, and I don't know if you can tell me, but were those minutes spent with Sanderson on the left and Chychrun on the right?
No.
So Sanderson was on the right for all those?
Yes.
Interesting. Okay.
Yes, at least according to Money Puck, how they have Sanderson as the right side D here. They also have Sanderson with Chabot on the right side, where Sanderson's on the left. That's the second best pair, according to Money Puck and expected goals. They played 30 minutes together. So
I was going to say probably small sample sizes. Yeah.
I'm willing to give it a chance, but at the same time, this is it's kind of the issue that Pierre Dorion backed this team into, with having 5 left defensemen pretty much. At least 4 of your top 5 defensemen, I should say, are left shot defensemen.
Yes.
So this is where we're at. But Thomas Chabot playing on the left side is key. And that's something, obviously, he hasn't played with Zub at all. Zub hasn't played more than 10 minutes with anyone but Jake Sanderson this year. So it'll be interesting to see. Obviously, Chabot and Zub have had success in the past together. Up front, it's Josh Norris with Brady Tkachuk and Claude Giroux. That's new, swapping Tim Stützle and Josh Norris. So Norris gets the chance to play with Tkachuk and Giroux. I'll be watching that closely tonight. We've got Stützle with Joseph and with Drake Batherson. We're still doing this. Rourke Chartier with Dominic Kubalik and Vladimir Tarasenko, and then Matthew Highmore playing center with Parker Kelly and Zach McEwen. On the other side, we will get our Locked On players. We will take a look at the Columbus Blue Jackets and more. This is Locked On Senators.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. We already mentioned them off the top, and that's where I'm going to be going to hopefully have this bounce back from the Sens, stop the return from Sweden skid. I'm going to be looking to get some green numbers in the account here, and you can as well. FanDuel is the Locked On Podcast Network's sportsbook. It's also #1 sportsbook in North America. And right now, new customers in the US get $150 in bonus bets with any $5 money line bet. That's $150 if your team wins. Good time to bet on the Sens to get started. If you're thinking about joining FanDuel, now's the time. I use FanDuel because I love the app. It's easy to use. You can bet on anything from spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. Looking at FanDuel right now, Ross, the Ottawa Senators are -154 in this game. If you want to hit the regulation money line, they're at even money there. So that's something that you could definitely take a look at, all on FanDuel. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started today. Check it out, guys. FanDuel.
Today's episode is also brought to you by Farm to Fork, farmtoforkdelivery.ca. It's a premium meat and seafood company located in Ottawa, but you can order anywhere in Ontario, anywhere in Quebec, and also up in our friends north in Nunavut. So what is Farm to Fork? Farm to Fork makes sure that everything is antibiotic-free, hormone-free, everything is ethically raised that they sell on farmtoforkdelivery.ca. They also, what I love about Farm to Fork, well, lots, the taste, #1. Just go check out all their 5-star reviews on Google. But they also individually vacuum seal the meats right at the butcher's table to keep them as fresh as humanly possible. Not only does it increase freshness, but also makes it easy to just pull out what you need. So you want 1 chicken breast that night? Pull out 1 chicken breast and don't worry about anything else other than making sure that you are well fed and with healthy, really good ingredients. So farmtoforkdelivery.ca, go to their website and use promo code LOSP10 for 10% off your first purchase. Great holiday gift. You got a man in your life? Go get him some steaks. Nobody likes a gift of steaks more than you and me, Pilsy. We absolutely adore it. That's kind of like, hey, good friends of the show, Mark Methot, guys who come on a ton. They get steaks, man. It's the best thing that you can get someone. It's a great gift. The holidays are coming, so go check it out. farm2forkdelivery.ca. Taste the farm to fork difference. You will never go back to grocery store meats. All right, Pilsy, here we are. It's a game day Friday, December 1st. But before we get back to that, oh man, another coaching change in the league and another new coach bump. Chris Knobloch has his Edmonton Oilers playing to a 6-3 record through 9 games. But you know what? We kind of figured that they were a good team. They have some good pieces. However, the Minnesota Wild, since their coaching change, are 2-0 and absolutely dominated the Nashville Predators last night. A Predators team that's won 5 straight.
Oh,
interesting, hey?
Yeah, the new coach bump is legit. Like, there's 3 things, death, taxes, and new coach bump. Like that, like those are all certain to happen in life. And if you want 4 things, baby bump as well. That's a big one to watch. I've been famously known to be following the baby bumps here. But yeah,
I thought you were gonna say you're famous for creating baby bumps.
No, not that I'm aware of, to be honest. But
make sure you send Pilsy his your Father's Day cards coming up in April.
Father's Day is in June, buddy.
Oh.
But I'll take a Father's Day gift in April. Send me some farm to fork meats.
Wait, how do you know that?
No, this is not breaking news. Not breaking news at all. We're getting off the rails here. But anyways, yes, the Minnesota Wild and Edmonton Oilers have been enjoying new coach bumps is what we're getting at.
Yes, they have. How would you enjoy tonight's game? You want to get some keys to victory right off the bat? Or are there any notes you have with the Senators forward core? Are you happy with the change to put Norris up with Tkachuk and Drew?
Well, we will get to that later on. The only note I have without teasing anything, I already kind of said it. I'm so frustrated that they're still rolling out Kubalik, Chartier, and Tarasenko. Like, what a complete waste of time. If you're Tarasenko and Kubalik, you got to be sitting there like you got to set me up for success here. Like, how am I supposed to get going as 2 snipers with, again, no offense to Rourke Chartier, good dude, but like that is not the guy that should be playing with those 2. It's wild to me that is still a thing.
And Tarasenko hasn't scored in 10 games. All right, our Sens Central locked on players to watch in tonight's game. We'll start with the citizens. We put Thomas Chabot. Everyone's going to have all eyes on Thomas Chabot. Chabot hasn't played since October 26th against the New York Islanders. He only has 3 assists through 7 games this year, averaging 24-19 in ice time. I'll be watching to see how comfortable he looks out there, and I'll also be watching his utilization and minutes. Pilsy, your locked on player.
My locked on player is going to be Josh Norris. We just looked at the lines. Josh Norris. Now, talk about being put in positions to succeed, Ross. Well, it's been tough sledding for him recently. Now he gets the opportunity to play on a line with Brady Tkachuk and Claude Giroux as his wingers flanking him. So if you can't get going there, how are you going to get going? I really feel like DJ Smith, I've just had about 10 minutes of rants griping about how much I hate his lineup decisions. If there's one thing I do like about this, it is trying to spark Josh Norris again. Ross, we've been talking about it. This guy, when he is on his game, 35 goals in 66 games a few seasons ago. Like, he has so much talent and such an electric shot. He just needs to get back to shooting the puck, and maybe when you got his best friend Brady in front of the net, that's going to entice him to shoot because, even if you don't score, the rebound's going to be there. Brady's going to get it. He's going to cause chaos and create offensive chances. And then you get a guy like Claude Giroux snapping it back in the draw. Maybe you can get Norris set up on that draw for a quick one-timer or something. So I want to see a big game from Josh Norris tonight.
I completely agree. He's probably been the most underwhelming player over the last 2 weeks for me. A guy who just has so much skill, but it just seems like he's trigger shy, especially to get his shot off. And he needs to be able to have his best attribute clicking for him to be that $8 million player. Now, for me, it's Joonas Korpisalo. The goaltending has been under the microscope for the Ottawa Senators. They have the 4th worst save percentage as a team in the National Hockey League. Only Minnesota, Edmonton, and Carolina are worse than Ottawa's .887 save percentage. However, Joonas Korpisalo is not the biggest reason why. He has had his guy outside of last game against Florida, 5 goals on 38 shots. But even if you include that, in Korpisalo's last 9 games, he has a .914 save percentage. Those first 3 games, remember the Detroit game wasn't good. The Carolina game was an .881, although he faced 42 shots. But yeah, in the last 9 games, he's 4-3 with a .914 save percentage. So going into a familiar crease, a familiar setting, I know one thing, though. He doesn't want to hear the cannons.
Nope.
It used to be a good sign for him. No cannons tonight, Joonas. Use what you know about this Columbus Blue Jackets team. I know it's a different coach, different players, but you've got to be able to stop the puck. And that's what the Senators have really failed to get consistently this year overall. And that's why I'm going to be locked on to Joonas Korpisalo.
I mean, Ross, you got to give it to Korpisalo, though. He is doing much better and coming up with big saves. Like, again, 5-0 loss to the Panthers, a couple blunder goals where misplaying the puck behind the net kind of bites him. But he had 3 or 4 10-bell saves, like huge highlight saves on big players. So, like for Hagee, he had a massive save. Ekblad on the back door, huge. Like, he's starting to heat up here. He just needs some defensive support.
Yes, and I'm glad you brought that up because I did want to mention stay in your net, dude.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. Like, I'm always so nervous when he plays the puck. So maybe that's where Senators defensemen have been giving kind of a large gap for him when he plays the puck because they got no clue what he's going to do. And then when he just leaves it there, they're like, oh, I thought you were going to do something crazy with it. So I was trying to give you space, but now you're just leaving it there. What's going on here? So there needs to be some work in, I mean, these things take time, but there needs to be some work in communication with Korpisalo playing the puck and his defenseman.
Well said. All right, Pillsy. On the other side, we've got keys to victory. We'll look at the Columbus Blue Jackets lineups and wow, they've got a couple underperformers. We'll have our lookout players as well. That's next. You're listening to Locked On Senators.
Today's episode is also brought to you by our friends over at Mary J's. Mary J's locally owned cannabis dispensary in the Ottawa area. 3 best friends made a life-changing decision and put a lot of work and dedication into it. And now they have 4 stores in the Ottawa area. The Ottawa locations are Riverside South, Orleans, Greeley, and Russell. So they got lots of spots to help you out. Mary J's offers the absolute best and newest products in the market with many new additions to the menu every single week. They got everything you need, whether you're a rookie or a grizzled vet. Mary J's offers competitive pricing. In fact, they will price match any store in Ottawa. That means you're guaranteed to get the best price around at a Mary J's location. Why would you go anywhere else? Mary J's also offers the best customer service, having the friendliest bud tenders around that are always ready to assist. One of the owners, Dashy, absolute beauty, diehard Sens fan, and you can go to one of the stores, say what up to Dashy, pick his brain about the Ottawa Senators, and learn all about the new great products that Mary J's has to offer. Guys, check out any of their 4 locations in Ottawa. It's Mary J's.
Today's episode is also brought to you by Sleeper. Sleeper is all the daily fantasy sports that your heart desires. Think of this moment. Tim Stützle scores the winner. The Ottawa Senators have won 4 games in a row for the first time this season. Hey, with Sleeper, you can win 100 times your money by playing daily fantasy hockey on the Sleeper app. There are all possible scenarios for this season, but to have the chance at winning big, you need to play daily fantasy hockey on Sleeper. It's the official daily fantasy app of the Locked On NHL Network. Sleeper is our top choice for daily fantasy sports, especially fantasy hockey. With Sleeper, you can win 100 times your cash in daily fantasy hockey contests with studs like Brady Tkachuk, Claude Giroux, Jake Sanderson, and Drake Batherson. All you need to do is pick more or less on stats for these stars. Choose stats like goals, assists, saves, plus, minus, and more. You heard me, Sens fans. You can get 100 times payout on Sleeper, so start paying attention and get your picks right so you can win big. Use promo code LOCKEDONNHL and you'll get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. U.S. only for now. That's Locked On NHL. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. All right, Pilsy, as we're rolling into a back-to-back game day, a reminder that you can subscribe on YouTube and join us live in the postcast after every single Ottawa Senators game. They've been few and far between, only 9 in the month of November, but we are up and rolling through November, through the new year. Your team every day. We take that very seriously here on Locked On Senators. Pilsy, the keys to victory we'll save for the end because I need you to help me figure out this Columbus Blue Jackets team. Like, I get that there's a certain level of rebuild. Heck, if there's a team that should know rebuilding, sure, it's the Ottawa Senators. But I look at this team, I see Johnny Hockey up there at the top line left wing. I see Patrick Laine, who's now 24, 25 years old. And Boone Jenner, of course, the captain. Like, there's not a whole lot of young guys in their lineup beyond their 3rd overall pick, Adam Fantilli, and their 10th overall pick, even earlier than that, a top 10 pick in Kent Johnson. It feels like I'm not sure. I'm not sure about this Columbus Blue Jackets team. I don't know what their direction really is.
Well, I don't know, Ross. I feel like there's a lot of young guys here.
They've been young, but now it's like, well, Chinikov was an overager in his draft year, wasn't he? Remember, nobody knew who he was.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I don't know a lot about him. Like that whole second line, like those guys are all in their early 20s. No,
yeah, I guess so. I mean, Chinikov will be 23 in February 1st, so he's 2 months from being 23. Like, all I'm saying is at this point, like they're not all 19, 20. Like, I feel like they should be ahead of where they are.
Yeah, I mean, it's been tough for them. Like, I think getting Johnny Gaudreau to sign that mammoth contract as a free agent was a big morale boost for them.
That's probably where my little brain went to. It's like, wait, why are you adding like a $10 million free agent if you aren't expecting to like take the next step, where it just feels like they're still rebuilding, right? 2-3 years later. And that's why all these young players are in their early 20s now, rather than the Adam Fantilli makes total sense, right? Ken Johnson makes total sense. But it feels like, when you sign a guy like Johnny Gaudreau, you should be pushing your chips a little bit further into the middle of the table.
I mean, they made some big moves on defense, though, Ross. Adding Ivan Provorov was a big addition for them. Bringing in Damon Severson, who unfortunately is on LTIR for them, that was huge. And
Erica
this
Branson.
decor, Goody was brought in with Johnny Gaudreau, massive free agent signing.
4x4.
Yeah, get your bag, Goody. But this decor in a couple of years, Ross, could be really good. Like you look at Adam Bachfist, who was a big part of that Seth Jones trade. David Jiricek is very young in his career, so he might take a while to get going, but we covered him extensively in our draft profiles. And then Jake Bean is a nice player as well. So and then I'll get to Adam Werenski, but he's an incredible defenseman.
You put the duo together because it's Adam Bachfist as his partner.
Okay, that's what my brain did there. Yes, Zach Werenski is a very, I don't want to say underrated defenseman, undercovered defenseman.
He hasn't been able to play a whole lot, right? He's dealt with some really tough injuries.
That's the thing. Yeah, and then playing in Columbus, you don't get a lot of shine there. So really, I guess, Ross, before we get into a rant here, you should go through the lines for our audio listeners.
Boone Jenner at center between Johnny Hockey and Kent Johnson. The second line, wish me luck. I almost want to just call it the comrade line. We've got a trio of Russians here, Voronkov, Chinikov, and Marchenko. And Voronkov, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. This guy is very productive, shockingly productive in terms of putting up points compared to where I thought he'd be. Adam Fantilli is centering a line of Patrick Laine, and we've got Justin Danforth there. Then the fourth line is Sean Efford Corrali. A nice little throwback to 2017 when he was a Boston Bruin. And then Alex Texier and Mathieu Olivier. On the back end, you've got Zach Werenski, Adam Bachfist. You've got Ivan Provorov and David Jiricek. And the third pair is Jake Bean. And then our guy, Sens abroad, Eric Goodbranson. In goal, we expect it to be Elvis Merzlikins. And then the backup is Spencer Martin.
My lookout player, Ross, as I was alluding to, is Zach Werenski. I really do think that this is a player that is going to get a little bit more shine now that Columbus is kind of looked at as trying to get out of their rebuild. Because, yeah, you look at it. Last year, Ross, he only played 13 games, but he had 8 points in those 13 games. Then the season before that, in 68 games. So, again, not a full season, but he had 48 points. So, he's able to put up points, and Zach Werenski has kind of been the Thomas Chabot of that Columbus Blue Jackets decor, right? Where it's just him and a bunch of dudes, random dudes for like years, and he has to lift up this whole decor. But now, like I mentioned, this decor is in its early stages, but I see a lot of potential here once they get going. So Zach Werenski, number 8, that's going to be my lookout player.
Whatever happened to Cole Sillinger?
He's hurt right now.
Okay, because he's only got 1 goal through 24 games this year. Remember he had that great rookie season? Everyone's like, oh my God, he was the pick after Tyler Boucher.
And that was my guy. That's the guy I wanted the Sens to take.
Yeah, he had 31 points and 16 goals as an 18, 19-year-old.
Yeah.
And then in his last 2 seasons where he's played 88 games, he has 4 goals in 88 games after having 16 in his first 79. So
would his rookie season have been with Torts? Yeah.
Yeah, it would have been.
So, yeah.
No, Brad Larson.
Oh, okay. So that must have just been the end of Torts' regime then. Okay, interesting.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they've turned over the roster now, just looking back 2 years, like Voracek, Bjorkstrand, Nyquist, Roslovic's probably out injured too, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Gavrikov, another guy. Max Domi, another one, right? Like they've had a ton of turnover just in the last couple of years. Joonas Korpisalo as well. But my lookout player here is a guy I was also high on during the draft process, and that's David Jiricek. Just plays that steady 2-way game, but those guys usually take a little bit extra to get their strength to the level of an NHL game. So I'm curious to see where he's at tonight, because man, in 4 or 5 years, and maybe even sooner, he's going to be, I think, one of the more feared defensemen in the National Hockey League. I really think that he's the type of player that when he steps into his own, he will, but he's also going to have some growing pains there. 19 games so far this season, just 4 points, but he's not a guy who you're going to expect to see contribute points necessarily, although he had 38 in the minors last year in 55 games, but he's just going to be mean in your face. But he's a guy who, right at this age, right, he's still 19, 20. If I'm Brady Tkachuk, he's a guy as a right defenseman, I'm left wing, I'm going to try to make his night a living hell behind the net. Hit him as hard as you can, often as you can, and make sure that he's not able to use that safety outlet that he has in Provorov, who's more of a puck-moving defenseman and can skate the puck out by himself. And I'll give a bonus one as well. Of course, we're going to be taking a peek at Adam Fantilli, the reigning Hobey Baker winner, best college player in the States last season. He's off to a bit of a slow-ish start, would you say, Pilsy? He's got 4 goals in 24 games, 10 points, minus 11. But really, like, we know the plus minus doesn't matter when you're a rebuilding team. Like you're going to be out there, and especially when you're a highly touted player like Adam Fantilli, he's going to be fine. He's going to be great, but I will be watching him closely tonight as well.
Yeah, my one interesting note about the decor is I do like how they've paired a younger defenseman with a veteran on each pair. That's a nice move. My honorable lookout guy is going to be Kent Johnson. He hasn't played much this season, but he's back in the lineup now, and that's a guy, Ross, like the resounding kind of comment about him is video game type skill. So when you're in college, you can pull those moves off, and it's great. It looks awesome. You're going to rack up the points, but in the NHL, ask guys like Trevor Zegras, Sonny Milano, some of those guys that have insane hands that worked in the junior and lower levels, doesn't always translate to immediate success in the NHL. And I think that's what Kent Johnson's going through right now.
Well said. We're excited for tonight's game. Senators in Columbus to visit the Blue Jackets. It will be their first meeting head-to-head this season, and the puck drops at 7 p.m. Eastern. Let's get to some keys to victory.
Number 1.
This one, like, number 1 is know you're the better team. We just went through that roster, especially up front. That forward group is a lot of guys trying to figure things out here. So this team has got to win the 5-on-5 battle, Ross. Especially, I want to highlight the 5-on-5 battle because, and this shocked me. I'd like to get your opinion on this, but when I look at that Columbus Blue Jackets roster, I'm not like, that is a stout, defensive, strong roster, right?
No.
You think maybe they light it up on the power play. You got Patrick Laine, Johnny Gaudreau, Werenski, all these young high draft picks. But the Columbus Blue Jackets are the second best team in the league in penalty kill percentage, only behind the LA Kings. Their penalty kill sits at 89.2%. So for an Ottawa Senators team that struggles to score power play goals up against teams that have terrible penalty kills, I think it's going to be slim pickings for the man advantage tonight. So win that 5-on-5 battle.
For me, it's figure out the second period. The Senators have allowed 29 goals in 17 second periods. That is absolutely unacceptable. It's no way to win a game. To put it in context, Ottawa's allowed 14 goals in the first period and 29 in the second. Not only that, but they've only scored 19. So they're a minus 10 goal differential in the second period. And like, what's the reasoning for that? You got to think adjustments you have to be made once you've seen the team for 20 minutes, see what the flow of everything goes. Like, have the adjustments figured out and execute them, because the second period is killing them. And then they're always fighting from behind in the third period. So figure it out and fast.
Yeah, figure it out big time. I don't know. Maybe they need some Red Bulls or something in the first intermission. They got to get it going because there's no energy in that second period.
And number 3.
Number 3 is do not overplay Thomas Chabot in his return. Sure, it was a hand injury, so it's not like his skating should be affected much, and like his stamina and endurance shouldn't be affected too much. But look, we talked about how tight this schedule is moving forward for not only December, but the rest of the entire year, other than February, I guess. So you got to keep Thomas Chabot's legs fresh, especially with the back-to-back in his first return here. However, Ross, seeing him paired with Artem Zub, I feel like we will not see number 3 of keys to the game happen, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if Thomas Chabot plays 28 minutes.
I need it to be 24. Anything under 25.
Yes.
Okay. Under 25, key to victory. Thomas Chabot, under 25 minutes, unless for some reason Ottawa gets 10 power plays, then you can put him out there. Okay, 5-on-5 should be around 20. That's what I want. Around 20 at 5-on-5, because he's not going to be out there, I don't think, killing penalties right off the bat, and then have him out there for 4 or 5 minutes on the power play and then call it a day. So Thomas Chabot back in the lineup. Let us know in the comments what you believe the repercussions will be of Chabot's return to the lineup. Is it a huge positive, or are we reacting to a guy who had been the whipping boy at certain times? Not really on this show, I feel like, but just in terms in general of what he brings to the table. I think we really saw over the last little while how hard it is for them to get the puck out of their own zone without Thomas Chabot in the lineup. So I'm excited to see him back. I think Sens fans should be, and especially with this back-to-back. And hopefully, I mean, if JBD sits for one game, it's not the end of the world. But like, if it's the same decor tomorrow as well, like, we really got to start asking the questions here of like, what's going on? Because Travis Hamonic, like, I'm sitting 1,000 kilometers away, and I can see instantaneously that he's just slow. He's getting beat. He's getting walked. He's taking penalty after penalty after penalty. It's just not a great recipe for success for the Ottawa Senators to have him out there 82 games this season, as it seems they're expecting him to play. Pillsy, any final thoughts on today's show?
Yeah, just to comment on your Travis Hamonic note there. Travis Hamonic leads the Ottawa Senators in penalty minutes with 32. So,
to be fair, he was one of the guys who got everybody gets 10.
No, actually, I'm very wrong. Apologies. I was scrolled down too far. Brady leads the team and is second in the league in PIMS with 50. So, whoops. -1 for Pillsy there.
Well, -1 late in the game, though. That's not bad. That's not bad. You've accumulated a couple pluses. You know what? Here, I'll bail you out, because you are on to something here. And if we go to where is it? Minor penalties taken, sorted by there he is. He's tied for 8th in the league in minor penalties taken.
But he leads the Sens, right?
Leads the Sens, baby.
Nice.
Brady's got 10. He's got 11. You're right all along.
Good. Yeah. So maybe my plus minus not good, but my Corsi numbers are a little better.
Yeah, because I mean, Brady's got those 2 fighting majors. He's got the misconduct in there as well.
Yeah.
So He's stacking numbers a little bit quicker, but 11 minor penalties when he's averaging 15 minutes a game is like pretty unacceptable, I'd say. You just can't have it. So hopefully he figures that out. And like JBD is lowering the boom on guys. Even last game, he smoked one of the Florida Panthers. I think it was, Sam Bennett, I think, came and talked to him after. I forget which player he stood up in the neutral zone. But not a decision I would have made, but one that the Senators coaching staff has decided to make. All right, we'll be in the postcast after tonight's game. We will see you there. 7:00 start. Senators, Blue Jackets, and we will vent or vibe, and the venting will be at an all-time high if the Senators cannot put together 3 good periods, know they're the better team, and try winning the second period. Wouldn't that?
Or Ross, I'll even raise the bar lower. Try not losing the second period.
Raise the bar lower?
Yeah, I'm raising the bar lower on a last place team in the Eastern Conference.
All right, you heard it. Lots of confidence here on Locked On Senators, but hey, a win could solve everything here. After that 5-0 shutout loss to the Florida Panthers, it's time to turn the page. They've got Columbus tonight, Seattle tomorrow. We'll talk to you in the postcast. For today, we say goodbye. For Brandon Piller, I'm Ross Levitan. This has been the Locked On Senators podcast, your team every day.